evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and the name of this program is Let's Live, and it's coming to you from Woodstock, New York. And tonight's show focuses on hand reflexology, and it's the second in a series focusing on hand reflexology. And I'm hoping that those of you who are watching it will enjoy it, and I'm hoping that you will be able to use some of this information because it's very practical, and it's brought to you with the idea of enlightening you and those around you using in your life, those in your life, about healing and about wellness. I have written a book called Healer's Handbook, and I am in the process of finishing a book called Wellness for All, Healer's Handbook Wellness for All. It's the 3rd edition, and it focuses on reflexology and Reiki and chakra healing. And I, for years, have practiced reflexology, and I do teach reflexology, and I have primarily focused on foot reflexology because that's what is very popular in this country. But there are people who are interested in hand reflexology. And hand reflexology has been around for many, many, many years. And it was, for the last couple of 100 years, more popular than foot reflexology. And foot reflexology became the dominant form of reflexology in this country prior to World War II, because a woman by the name of Eunice England in Pennsylvania made it famous. And she made it famous because she preferred foot reflexology. But prior to that time, hand reflexology was very important. And one of the reasons that hand reflexology was considered to be very important was because you could sedate a person using hand reflexology, and we didn't do that so much then, prior to World War II. But I want to talk, again, we're going to talk about how we use reflexology. We have a map, and I do have hand charts, and I do have some foot charts. And if you do contact me and order my book, I will definitely include the hand charts for hand reflexology. And you can reach me at thurmangreco.com. Hand reflexology and foot reflexology are very, very similar. And there are actually, if you want to get technical about it, there are 3 kinds of reflexology. There's hand reflexology, foot reflexology, and ear reflexology. And I practice all 3 and I teach all 3, but I prefer foot and hand to ear reflexology. But I have to tell you, there is nothing more wonderful than having your ears massaged and reflexed. And if you're stressed, if you're tired, if you feel uncomfortable for some reason, you can always reach up to one of your ears or both of your ears, and you can massage them both. And when you do that, be sure and use your fingers and your thumbs to massage both sides of your ears. And then as you get ready to move away from the ears, and you're saying, well, we've been doing this for 10 or 15 minutes and I feel much calmer now, I'll move away, then be sure and give your ears some long, luscious pulls, because there's nothing more wonderful. And for those of you who are interested in canine massage therapy or companion animal massage therapy, don't hesitate to give ear massages to your cats and your dogs, and any other pets that you might have, because the ears, like the hands and like the feet, do have some reflex points, and so it's very calming and very healing. Now this brings you, we've gone now, we're discussing healing, and people will ask me, well, how does reflexology work? And I tell you that it creates homeostasis, and that homeostasis is the balance of all of your body systems. And I have said this for years and years and years, and people look at me and they say, fine, thank you. And a lot of people don't even know what homeostasis is, and homeostasis is balance. But tonight, I want to talk a little bit about what that means. And what it means is change. That's what happens when you heal. And that's what happens whether you go to a doctor or a chiropractor or any kind of a healer. When you begin to heal, your body, your spirit, your soul, your emotions, you change. And for some people, this is very, very difficult, because once we establish something and we figure out that this is how something works and this is how we are, then they don't want to change. And as a matter of fact, if you've been going to a massage therapist, and I know that when I was studying massage therapy, the teacher would say, you know, you may have to give massages weekly for months before a person will finally trust you enough to begin to relax enough to heal. In other words, for change to happen, it takes some time. Reflexology, whether it's hand, foot, or ear, gets there much quicker. And that's one of the reasons that I really prefer reflexology. And one of the reasons that reflexology introduces change, it brings homeostasis, is because it gets you to a point of relaxation. And once you can relax, once your muscles can relax, once your joints and your nerves and bones, once your eyes can, once you can relax, then you can change. And when you change, then you can begin to heal. And that's what homeostasis is all about. And I've been studying and writing for the past few months about the word change and how change works in the health of our bodies. Because you can take all the pills in the world, you can get operations, you can do all kinds of things, but if you cannot change, then you cannot get to wellness. Because when you're sick, that's one condition. But in order for you to get to wellness, you have to change. You have to go there. You're in a different place. And change is physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional. Change encompasses all kinds of different things. And so rather than use the word change, reflexologists use the word homeostasis. And homeostasis is the balance. That means that your body is changing and you are balancing all of your body systems. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And of course there are some diseases. I know that when I was studying reflexology and later as I teach reflexology, I require a certain number of clinical experiences for my students, and I tell them that there are certain diseases that you need to go out and find somebody who has this disease and offer them 5 sessions and see how they change. So change is something that is necessary for healing. But you know, in order to change, you've got to trust somebody. You've got to trust yourself to change. You've got to trust your past. And you have to trust the present, and you have to trust the future. And you've got to trust the spiritual part of your body. And you've got to trust your body's systems. You've got to trust your respiratory system. You've got to trust your circulatory system as you trust your heart. And you have to trust your digestive system. There's so many parts of your body, your endocrine system. Your endocrine system. Nobody really knows that much about what the endocrine system does and how it does whatever it does. But when you get ready to heal, you've got to trust your endocrine system to make the changes that it needs to make in order for you to be well. So this is a huge thing, and I am coming to realize that change is the 500-pound parrot in the room, because nobody ever uses that word. We use all kinds of words. I have to get well. I have to get rid of this rash. I have to get over this cold. I have to do this. My back has got to stop hurting. You know, I've got to do all of these things, but nobody says I have to change. And in reality, that's what we have to do. So this is a very, very, that's a major part of the success of anybody. And you got to realize too, that when you go to a healer, when you go to a massage therapist, when you go to a chiropractor, doctor, nurse, whatever, they do things. We all do what we do. But in the final analysis, you're the one that has to do the work. And I can remember several years ago, I had a client who brought a child to me for sessions. And it was most unusual, because most people will bring a child to a massage therapist or a reflexologist or whatever, and the kid, by the time they bring them, for whatever reason, the kid is a disaster. Physically, the muscles are all stressed out. It's just a mess. So then you work on this child for an hour or so, and then after the session, you have this conversation, and you tell the parents, well, this is, your child is really stressed out, the neck muscles are stressed out, or the arms or shoulders or whatever. It's going to take more than one session. And right away, they are not up for that at all. They want you to do this work one time, and then the child is well. Well, I had this one parent who came many times with, the child. And finally, at one point, I realized that she really would like to have brought herself, but for whatever reason, could not bring herself to do it. So, and one day she said, will you work on me? And I said, no, I really will not. Because I said, what you need to do, the change you need to make, isn't on this table. What you really need to do, you've got to do the work. You've got to go out and get yourself a new job, because that's what's driving me crazy. And so I didn't hear from her again for a long time. And then when I finally did, she had a new job. I felt good about it. So I'm going to get away from telling the stories, war stories. I want to talk about the 9 causes of our health problems, because I think that quite often, and you hear this a lot, I really hear this. Well, when you go to the doctor doesn't really help you. The doctor just gives you medicine, and the medicine covers for all the symptoms, and you really still have the illness. You still have the problem minus the symptoms. So there is a certain level of truth to that. A lot of times that's not true, but a lot of times it is true. It is important when you go to a healthcare provider that you decide somewhere along the way that you really want to get to the bottom of things. So there are 9 causes of disease, or I have 9 causes of disease. And one of them is nutritional deficiencies. And it is hard. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, and you don't have to be a physician specialist and having gone to college for 15 years to see a terribly unhealthy person walking down the street in this country anymore. And the causes are nutritional. People are no longer eating food. We're eating chemicals that have been manufactured for us to chew and swallow. But that doesn't mean we're eating food. So that's one reason that we get sick. And another reason that we get sick is because we don't sleep well. And I can certainly appreciate this. I have my own sleeping problems, especially at my age. People my age have sleeping problems. My spouse has sleeping problems. Sleeping problems are part of life, but there are things that we can do to overcome these problems. And if we're willing to do it. I'm going to give another war story. Several years ago, I had a client who came to me once a week for months, and the problem was insomnia. And in reality, this person was very active in life and loved to go to meetings. And of course, if you live in the Hudson Valley, there's meetings everywhere. You have your choice all day long, every day. So that by the time this client of mine finally went home and went to bed, the brain was going like this from all the stimulation that he had experienced during the day. And I could give him all of the reflexology sessions that he wanted to pay for. But until he decided that he was going to relax himself prior to going to bed, he was going to have a problem sleeping. So, you know, we finally realized that. He realized it, I realized it, and he kind of went on his way because the reflexology was wonderful. He had really nice naps, but the nighttime session was something that he had to work on. And of course, another reason that we have health problems is that we don't move enough. If you don't move, it's very hard to keep all of your body systems working. And as you walk down the sidewalk, as I walk down the sidewalk, as I walk down a hallway, as I walk down whatever, and I see people, I can see, and again, this is not, I don't have a special vision. We can all see it. You can see the people who get the exercise and walk and move, and those who don't. Because the ones who don't, their gait is not healthy, their posture is not healthy, they're not moving very fast. It's just really hard when you don't move to be healthy. And going along with that is a deficiency in happiness. And of course, that problem right now in this country is chronic. Everybody is suffering from a happiness deficiency. You cannot have a realistic attitude about our pandemic and be gleeful in life. So that's something else that we all need to work on. And then prescription and non-prescription medications. I'm not, in Woodstock, that's not so prevalent, but it is prevalent throughout the country. And come on, let's face it. If you go to the pharmacy, my God, there's row after row after row of all these pills and all of these syrups and all of these patches and all of these things. And I had a relative, a wonderful relative, and she's very well educated, and she was a nurse. And she was probably one of the best nurses. And she was really, she was the nurse that everybody aspired to. But what we didn't realize, that when nobody was looking, she was taking all kinds of things, you know. One quiver and up, I got to take an aspirin. One little nap here, well, I got to take a digestion pill. One little one. And finally, it caught up. And you know, nowadays we do, if you read in the books, a lot of people are considered to have some form of dementia. But you can get, if you can get the pills off of them, they don't have that dementia anymore. So that's, you know, we need to kind of watch what we take. And I have my youngest daughter is a nurse, and she, the last time I went to visit her, she did an assessment on me, and I got a good assessment, and she based it on the fact that I could walk as fast as she could, and I was only 30 years older than she was, and the fact that I don't take that much medicine, because it's not that I'm refusing to take it, it's that I just don't need it. So I'm not over-medicated. So that's something we have to think about. And there is a difference between not taking the medicine because you don't need it, and not taking the medicine because you do need it and you're just getting stubborn about it. Because if you do need the medicine, you do need it. So that's a line that we all work with. And then the other problem that creates problems for us is our endocrine system, our hormonal imbalances. I think, my feeling, and I have to say that maybe this is wishful thinking, I don't know, I'm not an endocrinologist, but I really think that 50 years from now, maybe 20 years from now, we're going to have a better understanding of how the glands work in our system. And when that happens, we are going to be healthier people. Because nobody really knows what happens with the hypothalamus. Nobody really knows about what is happening with the thyroid. I mean, you can say, well, it's the gas pedal. But when push comes to shove, there's a lot about these glands that we do not know. And so that's something to consider. And while we consider that, you can have a thyroid that is very low, and that you do need medication, because living with a low thyroid is a very, very difficult thing to do, because you are so tired. And you go to bed at night and you are just simply fatigued. It's the end, you just can't go another step. And then you get up the next morning and you don't feel any better than you did when you went to bed the night before. So, but you need to try to get your hormones balanced. And of course, for women with menopause, I truly don't think that there's that much known about what menopause is. It's a very normal function of the body, but we don't necessarily know exactly what it is. So that's another problem. And then the digestive difficulties. We do have digestive difficulties. It is hard to not have digestive difficulties when we are eating a lot of chemicals that are designed for us to eat, but they are not food. And we also have digestive difficulties because we're living longer, and we have the gastro-reflux. And that is one. Now, I talked to you about taking medicine. When you have GERD, that is one affliction that I think that kind of not taking too much medicine, at least, because that can have some problems. But we still have to figure out ways to work with it. And then there's the cellular toxicity. When the water is toxic, when the plants are grown with pesticides, when the air we breathe is not good, it's hard to not be toxic. And then, of course, chronic inflammation. There are so many people now who believe that chronic inflammation is the cause of all of our diseases. So those are the things that help us not be well. So taking those things into account, we now will go to some hand reflexology. One of the positive things about hand reflexology is that you can do it on yourself. That's positive, but it's also a negative. Because when you feel the need for a reflexologist, and there is nothing more wonderful than popping up on a reflexologist table and spending an hour in bliss. There really is. It's a very nice experience. You do not get that with hand reflexology. You have a very good response. You are relaxed. Your body does balance. You are helping yourself. If you have a headache, it's going to go away. If you have sinus problems, you're going to get relief. I mean, these things do happen, but it happens easier and better if someone else performs it on you as opposed to you doing it yourself. But it's hard to give reflexology to somebody if you're staying 6 feet away. So here we are giving hand reflexology to ourselves. And so you take the hand and you say, I have an hour, this half is this 30 minutes is this hand, this 30 minutes is this hand. And you can working on yourself, you can do 5 or 10 minutes here, and then 2 or 3 hours later you can do another 10 minutes here. Or you can sit down and give yourself a 1 hour session. Now, when you give yourself a 1 hour session and you have 30 minutes on this hand, then you divide the half hour into 5 minutes in the beginning to warm up, to get, to relax your hand. And then you're going to work on the hand, and then you're at the end, at 25 minutes, you're going to give yourself another 5 minutes. So the warm-up is what you do in the beginning. And in the beginning, just take your one hand and just do whatever on the other hand. Just relax it, play with it, enjoy it, move it around, work on your fingers. We are so abusive to our hands nowadays. I do not know anybody who doesn't overwork his or her fingers and hands. I see people now whose hands are not straight. They're like this, and it's because of this. It's because of the keyboard. And so you need to do things that are going to open up the hand, open up the fist, and straighten up the fingers. I mean, if you don't do anything else but that in a half an hour, you have done a lot. And when I give classes, I have given them on Zoom lately through the Northern West Hurley Public Library. I have given them on Zoom, but when I have given classes to groups of people in a room, I will show them how to go up to a wall and try to straighten out their fingers and try to move this wrist back a little bit. You don't want to hurt that wrist, but you want to try to move it back a little bit, and you want to move your fingers back a little bit. So this is really, really important. So you're going to do this for about 5 minutes. Then you are going to start working on your hand. And it's very, very simple. We talk about in reflexology thumb walking. Well, that's kind of an in word, but don't worry about it. So what you're going to do is on hand reflexology, you're going to work on this palm and this hand, and then you're going to go to the back of the hand as well. So you're going to start off with walking up I say you're going to thumb walk up the thumb and up the first finger. But you don't have to walk up the thumb. You can use your fingers and go up. What you're doing is you're giving attention and stimulation to your palm. So you're going to start on this inside, and then you're going to come over here to the outside, and you're going to do the outside, and you're going to go up and down the way up to the fingers. And you can use your fingers. You can see me using your fingers. You can use your thumb. And as you go up your fingers, after you have gone up your fingers, then, and you've gone up the palm with your fingers, then you pinch between the thumb and the first finger and the second finger, you're going to pinch. When you pinch like this, you're pinching the lymphatic system. And this is really nice, because when you work the lymphatic system, you are actually cleaning out your body. There's two ways to work the lymphatic system that you can do. You can either with exercise, or you can actually do it with your hands. Because the lymphatic system does not have a pump, so the only way you really work your lymphatic system is when you actually exercise it. So I tell people, be sure and do this every day. Work your lymphatic system every day. Or, if you don't want to do that, get yourself a trampoline, a little trampoline, and jump up and down on your trampoline every day. That'll move everything. That will move the toxins along. And when we talk about cellular toxicity, when we talk about moving out the toxins from the body, this is working your cell, working your palm like that is very, very important. So we have gone up, starting at the base of the palm, we're going up. And then we're now you're going up. Now you're going to come back and you're going to go across. So that by the time you finish doing this, you have really worked on that palm. And if you get a map, you can see exactly what body parts you're working on. And I have a map here, but it's too small, really. But you can actually do it. And if your back hurts you, and so many of us now do have spinal injuries. I mean, why not? We're pretty upset in life. You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. We're wearing masks. You know, I mean, you pile insult on injury, the back is going to bother you. Okay, so this is where your spine is. Along here, this is where your back is. And so what you're going to do is, you're going to do this, you're going to work this. Now, you're going to go over here to this side, you're going to go to the back of your hand, and you're going to finger walk back and forth the back of the hand. And you're just going to go back and forth. And you can also take your thumb and your first finger and go down. And that's also working the lymphatic system, because you're going down between the bones. You know, there's a lot of bones in your hands, and there are a lot of bones in your feet. And actually, if you really get one of those anatomy coloring books and you start coloring, you will see how similar the hands are to the feet. And so they do have the same number of bones. And one thing that is different about the hands and the feet is that with the hands, the fingers are longer. Well, when you work the fingers, you're working the sinuses. So this means, for me, that it's important, if you have sinus problems, it is important to do your fingers as opposed to doing your toes, because you've got more emphasis on your fingers. On your fingers, your fingers are longer on your hands. So you're going to take a couple of fingers and you're going to go on the soft side of the hand, of the fingers, and you're going to work your sinuses this way. And it feels good. You know, this is really nice. This is not bad. So you're going to do this. And if you have sinuses, then I recommend that you do this every chance you get. Once a day is not too much. Certainly once a week is not too much. This is a good thing to do. And you know, when you can have really bad sinuses in this area, especially at this time of the year, the trees are all coming out, the maple trees are coming out. When you have an allergy to maple trees, you can be very, very sick with a sinus attack. Well, this will provide you some relief. And if you go at it all the time, then you're definitely going to get some relief. Also, we all need to stimulate our brains. I mean, that's very, very important. So the brain is at the very end of this finger. So go little bitty circles around the ends on your fingers. I think that's very important. Especially when you're my age. If you can remember to stimulate your fingers and stimulate your brain, you're doing well. Now, so I'm not trying to teach you everything about what is where on your feet, on your hands or your feet. If you want the charts, all you have to do is contact me, Thurman Greco at gmail.com. Give me your mailing address, and while you're at it, it's okay to purchase a book for $15. That's okay. Now, so we now have the spine is along here, and if you're having problems with your shoulders, now if we are honest about this, I believe that most of us in today's market have got some shoulder problems. After all, that's where we carry the weight of the world. And you tell me a person who is honestly not carrying the weight of the world in today's market, and I would say that's a very special person, because we are all worried about not only our community, but our country and our planet. So if you want to give some relief to your shoulders, you go to your little finger and you go down here to the mound, right under there. That's your shoulder. And you do some rotations. And you can do it on both hands. I mean, you know, it really helps. It makes you feel good. It makes your hands feel good, and it makes you feel good. Now, we like to take care of our eyes. So we have body parts on our hands which are good for our eyes and for our ears. And that's right along here. So we go along here with our hands and our eyes and our ears. Your vision and your seeing and your hearing are all along here. Now, how many of us know someone who possibly is suffering from sciatica? Or do you know someone who had sciatica? This is something for you to know so you can remember it. If a person has sciatica, go right here at the base of the wrist, both sides, under the thumb and under the small finger. This is where you treat sciatica, right here. Now, I have this to say. I told you earlier that if they have problems with their spine, this is where the spine is. I have this to say. Back problems are spiritual. They definitely have a spiritual component. And there have been many, many tests done about what clears up a back problem the best. And they've been doing these tests for years. And it isn't always surgery. But there are some people who feel that for whatever reason, their back is hurting them, therefore they need to go to the orthopedist and get their back operated on. Even though tests have shown and studies have shown that there are other things that you can do which will help your back problems. I say this, if somebody says to you, oh, Fred or Elaine or whatever, I injured my back, I'm in a lot of pain, I'm going to have to go and get surgery. Well, have you found your doctor? No, but I have an appointment this afternoon, I'm going to go get surgery. You know, that's fine. People know what they want to do to get well. And if somebody tells me that their back hurts and they're going to go get surgery, I say fine. You know, it's okay. I do not have any issue with that at all. Personally, I'm not convinced it's the best way to go always. But if that's what the person thinks, then that's what, with backs, I don't make any, you know, whatever they want to do is fine. That's how I feel about back surgery. And I also, there was a test done, and I haven't seen it in years, and I keep talking about it. And I'm hoping that one of these days I'll run across it again so I can get a copy of it. Back when people did x-rays of backs, I don't think, you know, they do them now, but it really is, there are all kinds of tests that we do now that are not x-rays. A huge test was done of people's backs. And half of the people who had their backs x-rayed had problems. And half of the people who had their backs x-rayed didn't have problems. And what the test showed was the ones with problems and the ones without problems, their backs all look the same. Because, you know, we go through life and our backs have problems. You know, I mean, they are after all moving pieces. But for whatever reason, some people suffer a lot and have pain, and other people whose backs look exactly the same have problems and they don't feel a thing. I know that for myself, I was in a car wreck when I was about 18, and now I have been told by different people who have done all kinds of tests on, you know, taken all kinds of pictures for whatever reason, and they all say, listen, don't go to a chiropractor, don't go to a chiropractor, your neck is a mess, your back is a mess, you could be paralyzed just like that. I don't have any discomfort whatsoever. So when a person suddenly has discomfort in their back, I believe that something has caused it. If you go along with an injured spine for 20 years or 6 months or 30 years or whatever, and then suddenly it's injured, there's a reason. There is something that has happened. There is some change which has occurred in your life. So that's my theory about back pain. And either way, hand reflexology cannot hurt, and it may help, and so that's important. Now, what about headaches? If we had headaches, we know that if we have sinus, we go along the fingers, okay? It's true also if you have headaches. It's the same thing if you have headaches, except you add this one thing. You go right in here, in this tissue between the thumb and the first finger. So actually you're going to do exercises on the fingers all along from the very beginning, from this crease down here at the bottom, all the way through to the part that has the brain. You're going to do all of this. You're going to go around the hard part. You're going to go around the soft part. And then you're going to come over here. And then you go both hands. So that, I think that's a very important thing. We've done sinusitis, and we have done the headaches. Now, wonder what are some other things that somebody might like to have done. The digestive system, we have a large intestines and we have a small intestines. And of course the digestive system, 50% of the people in our country have digestive problems. And I know that when I studied massage therapy and reflexology, the teacher said, you know, half the people that come to you have got digestive problems. They're not even going to mention it, don't even worry about it, just, you know, that's part of life. One of the things that I learned through experience, nothing else, is that once a person starts coming to a reflexologist on a regular basis, they don't have problems anymore. And the only way you find out about it is when they tell you. Is when after 3 or 4 months and they've been coming every week and you say, well, how are things going? And they say, well, you know, I'm not constipated anymore, or no, I don't have the irritable bowel. I don't seem to have irritable bowel symptoms anymore. So, but this is where you go. You're going to go inside the palm, all the way. All the way. And you work both hands. Now, let's say that you're working along on your own hands, and all of a sudden you feel something sore. What do? Well, if you feel something sore, there's 2 kinds of pain. There's what I call good pain and bad pain. And good pain, you say, ooh, that feels kind of sore. And then you just continue working it out. But there's bad pain when you say, ooh, that's terrible, and you back off and you don't touch it anymore. So as long as you're comfortable working it, then continue working it. That's what you do. And definitely you're going to be working with the small intestines. And I think we're running out of time. I want to thank you very, very much. You have been a wonderful audience, and I look